More than 700 years after the fall of Mycenae, a new civilization flourished in Greece. The cultural and political life of Greece, and particularly of Athens, in the 5th century BC was to have a profound impact on Western civilization. In Athens the principles of democracy were established and scientific and philosophical reasoning taken to unprecedented heights. The Athenian literary tradition, exemplified by the tragedies of Sophocles and the comedies of Aristophanes, formed a central part of its legacy. Also in Athens, architecture and forms of art such as sculpture and vase painting took on the classical styles that still influence the Western sense of aesthetics. The Greek landscape is dominated by the sea and by mountains, which cover 80% of the mainland and reach heights of over 2,000 meters 5,000 feet. Authors such as Plato glorified a past when the countryside was lush and densely wooded, but by the first millennium B. Poor soil and the scarce rainfall during the summer months limited the possibilities for growing crops. Modern botanical and geological studies reveal a remarkable stability in the Greek countryside during the last 3,400 years. The recent industrialization of agriculture. Today's farmers grow labor-intensive crops such as apricots and grapes in the valleys along the coast, cultivate cereals and olives on the less fertile mountain slopes, and use the mountain pastures as grazing land. It is likely that the ancient rural population of Greece practiced a similar mixed agriculture, supplemented with marine resources. The Greek city-states, whereas the many islands in the Aegean Sea provide secure points for navigation and promote maritime traffic, cross-country communication is hindered by the mountains, which leave many areas isolated. In these mountain pockets independent, self-governing city-states, or polis, developed during the 8th century BC. Their focal point was usually an urban center positioned on a defensible rock, the Acropolis, literally the high town. This functioned as the political, administrative and religious center for the surrounding countryside. Some city-states expanded their influence and came to dominate, others remained on a more equal footing with neighboring cities, with whom they acted as a federal unit in matters such as foreign policy. During the 8th century BC a sense of a Greek identity emerged, primarily based on language and religion, and expressed in the Pan-Hellenic, all-Greek, festivals such as the Olympic Games and the shared oracles at Delphi and Dodona. From around 750 BC food shortages, political unrest and trade interests prompted the Greeks to venture out, and geography and natural resources set the parameters for the political and cultural development of classical Greece. Often separated from each other by mountains, the city-states evolved independently, many of them relying on travel by sea. A lack of high-quality agricultural land further encouraged expansion overseas. Established new city-states well away from home. These colonies retained the culture and religion of the mother cities, yet in a political sense functioned independently. The earliest colonies in Syria, Almina, and Italy, Ischia, founded by Eretria and Chalcis, were primarily trading posts, but the quest for arable land probably played a key role in the colonization of Sicily and the Black Sea area, mostly by Chalcis, Corinth and Miletus. While these trade connections and colonies were of great cultural significance, promoting an exchange between the eastern and western Mediterranean areas, they also led to major conflicts, for example with the Phoenician war with Persia. In the east the expansion of Persia's Achaemenid Empire led to confrontations with the Greek cities of Asia Minor. With the support of Athens and Eretria these cities rebelled against the Persian king Darius I in 499 BC. And the rebellions were not finally suppressed until 493 BC. Darius then demanded the submission of all mainland Greek cities, but Athens and Sparta refused. In 492 BC Darius sent out a punitive mission, which backfired after most of the Persian fleet was lost in storms around Mount Athos. When Eretria was sacked in 490 BC Greece was divided on how to respond. But the Athenians and a small Plataean force took the initiative and defeated the Persians at Marathon that year. Infuriated, Darius's successor Xerxes prepared an even larger invasion, to which many of the Greek city-states responded by mounting their first united force, led by Sparta. The Athenian leader Themistocles interpreted the oracular pronouncement that they should rely on Athens' wooden walls to mean strengthening their navy, and he enlarged the fleet to 180 ships. The first confrontation took place in 480 BC at Thermopylae, where the Spartan king Leonidas held out bravely but was defeated. After inflicting considerable losses on the Persian navy at Artemisium in 480 BC, the Athenians withdrew to the Bay of Salamis. They knew they could not defeat the Persians on land and so left their city to the enemy, to burn Athens to the ground. The huge Persian fleet followed the Athenian navy to Salamis but was unable to maneuver within the narrow straits there and was obliterated in 480 BC. The following year, at Plataea, the Persian land army suffered a similar fate at the hands of the Spartans, and the Greeks dealt the Persians the final blow in 479 BC at Mount Mycale, where the Persian troops had taken refuge. The small and independent Greek city-states had managed to defeat the greatest empire at that time, Athens and Sparta. Athens gained tremendous prestige through its contributions to the victory over the Persians and, when Sparta declined, seemed the obvious leader of an anti-Persian pact. Although the main aims of this confederacy, the Delian League, were protection against the Persians and seeking compensation for the incurred losses, the Athenians soon used the alliance to build an empire. They imposed heavy tributes on their allies and punished revolts mercilessly. In 454 BC the Delian League's treasury was moved to Athens and funds were overtly channeled into the city's coffers. A grand building scheme was launched to restore the city, crowned by the construction of the Parthenon, 477–438 BC, and the Erechtheum, 421–406 BC. This was Athens' golden age, much of it masterminded by Pericles. Sparta and other Greek cities watched the growth of Athens with suspicion. Not only did they fear Athens' military power, but they were also wary of democracy, Athens' radical contribution to political innovation. This rule of the people, women, slaves and foreigners excepted, was perceived as posing a direct threat to Sparta's ruling upper classes and, after mounting tension, war broke out in 431 BC. It was a costly conflict. Attica's countryside was sacked annually and the population, withdrawn within the city's walls, suffered famine and plagues that killed a quarter of its number, including Pericles. The Peloponnesian War lasted 27 years, ending with Athens' downfall in 404 BC.